Hi, my name is Felix Fry.
And I'm Marco Rajnica.
We're here to find great trading opportunities that target 150 to 400% returns. And you? Well, you're going to help us do it every single day. So welcome. This is the Winning Picks Podcast. This podcast is for educational purposes only. OptionsGeek LLC is not a broker-dealer. OptionsGeek LLC, Felix Fry, and Marco Rajnica are not registered investment advisors. Keep in mind, options involve substantial risk and are not suitable for everyone. Please consult your own investment advisor before doing any trading. Make sure you read the full disclaimer at the end of this episode.
Hey, Felix.
Hey, man. Happy New Year. How you doing? All right?
Thank you. You too.
Okay.
You good?
Good. No glasses today. We start the new year off with no glasses.
Yeah, cool.
All right. A little bit awake. Let's see what happens.
Awesome.
Try my glasses tomorrow.
Cool. So before we dive into anything, I just want to pick your brain a little bit because the market's down. SPY has been getting crushed, and you've sent out a trade this morning at around
two trades. Two
trades. One of which was SPY at around 9:50 a.m. And looking at my account, it's already up 100%. So people love you for it. People praise your ability to actually find these mini market crashes. So I just want to.
Some people get angry at me.
Some people get angry, right? If they miss it.
It's too fast. It might miss it.
It's a fast game, right?
I know.
So if you can go over that a little bit, tell us more about your process and all that. Be cool.
Okay. First, disclaimer: I actually I try to buy spot puts all the time. I'm always trying to think about the portfolio and think about how we're positioned. We're the people I coach. They know I'm always talking about having not just all puts and not just all calls. I look at it and I want to buy puts when I think that we're one way or we're lopsided. That said, the position, the members know the positions of the book, and they see that the book is probably doing okay today. It's not terrible because some are down, but some are up. We are long things like a Walmart, or we're long a gold name. And so we're trying to have positions that, I've been playing this defensive game for a while, which means what? I miss FUBO and QS, and I miss these crazy names, but I also miss the downdrafts when they come. So, we're trying to find longer trends in this game. I'm trying to be a little careful. But for today's SPY trade, I think what I saw, I would buy SPY puts almost every day of the last 6 months. So, it doesn't really mean, I tend to see things sometimes. And when I choose, because I'm so careful with the OptionsGeek members, that today I could show you my chart and I just show you what I'm looking at just to give you an idea. In the backdrop, we know the backdrop. I've been saying it for 3 months now. Nobody is long puts. 1, nobody believes the market could go down. 2, and they're only buying calls where everyone's on one side. We're buying calls. Everybody's buying stock. Stocks are going from 10 to 100. Why would you buy puts? Okay, there's this buy the dip mentality. It probably works again by this afternoon. There will be this, what I suspect will happen over the next, call it few hours. There'll be a $2-3 move. I don't know if that move is going to be from 362 to 365, but the market does that. It makes it very, very difficult to pay you out on puts. So what I'm looking at today, specifically today, was I didn't like that the psychology. I'm always thinking about psychology. I'm always thinking about what does the world think will happen today? How is the world set up for things to happen today or the next day? January 1st or the first day of the year is generally a positive day, generally. So you look at the stock almanac and people do this. They say 90% of the time, the first day of the year is positive. Okay. I can tell you probably 99% of those 90% of times, there's not a Georgia election the next day. Okay. And so the backdrop, that's the problem sometimes with looking at history, is that you have to take things into account that's happening today. So there's a Georgia election tomorrow that is very important. It's very important for the United States over the next 2 years. You're talking about federal policy and a new president and whether he owns the Senate and the House of Representatives, or there's this block with the Senate going to the Republicans. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for whether Biden can do, everything and at any time, any way he wants, or the Senate's going to be there to try to stop it. Big deal. You know who doesn't like big deals and risk? Because that's risk. The market could either go up or down a significant amount. Hedge fund managers, portfolio managers, institutional managers, people managing large sums of money, they try to reduce their positions a little bit in order to have some cash, in order to actually take advantage of maybe dislocations when an event happens tomorrow that maybe causes the market to go up or down a significant amount, and then they can jump in. So that backdrop is important to understand, that there's, if I'm teaching you how the top guys, 3 Steps to Profit is not just about options, it's teaching you how the top guys in the world think. There are clear videos there that show you they're constantly thinking about events that could shift the risk reward. This is clearly one of those events tomorrow. Okay, it could shift policy, which is a big deal, and change the portfolio for the next 2 years. And so when I see, yes, I agree, the market should go up every first day of the year, and I agree that it happens 90% of the time, I would ask, but is there ever a Georgia election that's going to, decide policy for the next 2 years until the midterms in the last 90 years? I don't know. Maybe you find 1, 2. I don't think there's many. Okay, not like this. Not in the environment we're in. We're also. It's not just that. We're also at the all-time highs, right? We've just ended the year from going, and it was a crazy year, going straight down, going to all-time highs. All this is in the backdrop. So in my mind, I think in general, the last day of the month and the first day of the month there's always a lot of potential movement, a lot of risk up or down. And this year, frankly, I thought the market was going to be down last week. I thought that the 60-40 crowd would come in. It didn't happen. I was long puts, and the OptionsGeek members were long puts for on the 360 line for January 6th, for this coming week. Is it going to work out? Most people probably got stopped out there. Some people might have said, that's the only put I have. I'm just going to let that one run for a little bit. And some people may have rolled. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we have something. So this morning, very specifically, given the backdrop, giving everything that's out there, that we understand of the world, we're at the highs. We understand the world is, is this an economic boom about to come, or is this the beginning of a long, sustained move, retreat, if you will, back to, call it 3, in the SPYs, maybe 340. 345 easily I could see it easily getting somewhere down there. Okay. So which one is it? Nobody knows. And we have these elections tomorrow, by the way. So when I see the market, so knowing that, and knowing that every small investor who kind of hears that the market should be up on day one. Okay. The market is opening up on day one. And here, I'll just show you my chart. So tell me when you see it.
Yes.
Here's the SPY, and the SPY is opening up here. So we can open it up to, let's do 2-minute candles. Here we have this move up on the 31st at 2 o'clock from 371.5 to basically 374.5. This is almost a 1% move. What does this do? Let's think about psychology. People are leaning short. They were thinking, many people, I don't want to say everyone, many people were thinking that the market was going to come off because of the 60-40 crowd having to sell so many futures. They didn't show up to the party. Okay. Someone told me that the head of Interactive Brokers had the positioning negative. That means their customers were positioned negative for the first time in however many years. I don't know. It was like everybody was negative. Well, this hurts. This hurts a crowd that is thinking, I'm waiting for the 60-40 crowd, and I'm going to buy it down here. Maybe I don't make that much money, but I'll make some. Trades up, really hurts everyone. And then nobody wants to be short going into the first trading day of the year. Why? Because, like we just said, 90% of the time it's up. And overnight, if you watch futures were up even higher than this, and it looked like it was going to be a gangbusters day. And when it trades down in a moment where everybody thinks it should be up, which means that they're either in or they should be buying here, because I'm just thinking of the crowd. It's sort of like looking at a party and saying, like, what's actually happen. I'm not actually drinking, but I'm watching everybody go to the bar, and I'm sort of seeing people, are people drunk? They're not. They're tipsy. They're not. What's actually happening? Well, I feel everyone long, and I feel that either they're long or they want to be long, right? It's the first trading day of the month. They're long or want to be long. And when this starts happening in the first, call it 15 minutes, and it actually breaks the close, that was my signal. If you look at that was just one signal, but if you look at the industrials, the Dow, it happened even quicker. So I was watching, I do watch both of these. These are the bigger names. This happened faster than the S&P. And I just thought, there's something wrong here, right? I'm also watching our favorite names like QS, that we've talked about, right? I'm watching, what are these crazy names doing, right? I take a crazy name that we've talked about was just 114 and 112, and we're highlighting that people are getting out. And I wonder, what are people doing in these crazy names? And I start looking around at some of these crazy names. Now, NIO was up because there was some good news. You had mentioned that in the UOA last week. That was up. So, it was confusing because there were some names, that some smaller sectors that were up, but there were a lot of these names that were starting to really hit the skids here. FUBO, not a bid in sight. And you're talking about, FUBO for the last, call it 6 trading days. And we talked about it, how, this is one side of the mountain. This is the other side of the mountain. Shorts are licking their chops as this is happening, and they start piling on probably right around here, which is where we identified. So I think I start looking at a lot of things, and I see the market trade lower, and I say, we're in a little bit of danger here, and I don't want to be caught flat-footed, and I certainly don't want to be caught without spies after paying for spies. I'm paying for a spy here. I'm paying for a spy here. I'm paying for a spy put here, and it hasn't been working. The one we did the last time was on this Friday. Okay, this was Monday. So on this Friday, it was trading again weak, near the highs and trading weak, and I decided to buy puts there. The next day, we opened up. Overnight, it was 358. It opened up at 360 something. We paid somewhere around 340. The puts opened up at 650. 340 was my mark. Some people got in. I mean, that from that day, it was 340 it went to maybe 4, and it traded as low as 270. So it could have been, someone maybe could have got an exit there. Maybe they didn't. And if it was a loss, it was a loss. That's it. You're out. And now we've been writing some calls and doing okay over the last week. But there's no way that I'm buying puts here, and not going to have something when I see the market turn on a day that it shouldn't turn. Right. I think that's the trigger, on a day that it shouldn't turn. Now, if you just want to look at SPY open interest, just to show you what I'm saying, that there really is there was no put buying in the last 4 weeks. But I mean, just look, this isn't necessarily a lot. This happened this January 15th this actually is decent, but it's not a lot. A lot is 200 to 300,000 options. This is 75. It's been growing over the last couple of days. But if you look here, there's the 69. There's really, it's just going 75, 70, and then the 360s is 58. This isn't a lot. Certainly, when you look at January 4th today, once you got through 70 this is today's volume. So these are a lot of the day traders seem to come in. And, I always tell you that if you look at the open interest the next day, maybe only 10% keep these puts. So all of this trading is a lot of day trading. So the open interest is not that high. The 370s, 50, it's actually decent for it to come in. But the problem is, I'm not sure if those were short, right? Because a lot of people, remember, the market started off at 374.5. A lot of people could be doing 1x2s or one by, these structures where they're selling the 370s. They're buying the 74s, selling the 370s, and maybe buying the 370, the 365s or the 364s, doing some sort of broken. The setup is like some broken wing butterfly, which we don't have to talk about. But if you're doing it, you're doing it. And where do you lose? Like, it looks like you can't lose because you're paying 25 cents and you're buying the 374, 370, 366, or 365. And, where do you lose? You lose at you don't make any money at 365, you lose. And sure enough, that's where we're at today. If you try to trade out of it, then many times that causes problems, and you wind up losing money on position anyway, because it's hard to trade out of some of these things when it's moving like that. But, I think that this is not a lot. I look at the open interest. That is not a lot. We were long the January 6th. Here, this is the ones we were long. We long January 6th, January 6th, 360s. Here, this was the open interest, okay? And it's been like that for 3 weeks, okay? Options Geek members are here. You're going to tell me, and look, there's nothing, 371, 2,000, 7,000, there's nothing. You're talking about the whole world is looking at this, and there's only 3,000 open interests, and Options Geek members are a good percentage of that. That means there's nobody buying puts. There's nobody long puts, okay? And I'm the only idiot that's kind of saying this thing could actually go down a lot. Mm-hmm. Can it go down a lot? I don't know, but it surely, today was 100% winner. You should take these trades just like any other trade. It's there to protect the book, but it's also there to take some profits if it gets there. If you're doing 3 of them, you take one. You're supposed to take one off today, and take that 100%. And if it goes back to 370, you can add something else, add a new one. I just don't want. I hate seeing some of these SPY trades go to 100% and then nobody takes off some of the position like a regular trade. These are regular trades. It's just one trade in a large portfolio. And if you look at the whole portfolio, we have the Walmarts that are up. We actually along eBay. We have things that are actually up in this environment. We're finally the marijuana stocks happen. We could talk about that a little bit. They're catching a little bit of a bid. Not the GRWGs, the mega growth ones, but some of the other ones that haven't moved like that are catching a bid. I don't know what it all means. I'm trying to make sense of some of the sectors that are up today, but, I'll let the next week sort of tell us a little bit more signals of what's the trend. Is this marijuana trend? Is this where people are going to remember the fast money is always trying to find the next pocket. So is the fast money saying, all right, we're going to get out of these names and we're going to find that one over there. Marijuana seems like it hasn't moved. And we took Tilray from 5 to 300. It's now been languishing around 8, 9. Maybe we could take Tilray up a little bit. That's the other side of the mountain. Tilray has come down the other side of the mountain, and it's made it's made some tracks over the course of months, and now maybe it's starting to maybe the crowd wants to go back to marijuana, and maybe the story is that people are going to be home more. There's a new coronavirus strain, and what are people going to do? They're going to smoke marijuana. Maybe that's the story. The storyline is consistently, coming up. They're creative. They come up with something new, and then that's where the money's at. And sure enough, that's where millions of Robinhood people start to focus, and stocks go up. So I think it's good to pay attention to where the stories are, and that's what I have to say. So let's go to we left off the last time. I wanted to make sure that your process was correct, Marco, that you were thinking about this the right way, that you were focusing on not so much the idea first, that you were actually allowing the big guys to tell you where they're trading, so that then you can go. It's good to have the ideas. I don't want to tell you not to. It's good to have ideas, to know a little bit about different things and know certain events, so that when you spot something, it just starts the dots connect easier. But I want to make sure that we start at the UOA. We try to look for a couple of different things, and then from there we jump to, okay, let's figure out what the target stock price is. And after we figure out what we think the target stock price might be, then we actually go to the charts. And then last but not least, we're then saying, okay, this looks pretty interesting. We got 2 out of 3. Let's try to figure out what that fundamental story is. Let's try to figure out why people do it. You might already know, because something like NIO we've been looking at for a couple of weeks. You mentioned last week NIO call buying, and I look, you picked that. That was all you. I looked at it and was like, wasn't sure, but you know what? You had the event. The story's there. It's looking like it's working right now, and that's good. I would warn people on that NIO specifically that it's that LI. XPEV, NIO, and Tesla, right? Those are the EV names, that the big ones, and they're all doing well. So there was news out of NIO that they had some good delivery numbers. Tesla lowered prices. Tesla lowering prices. I think you can always look at it at the glass half empty or the glass half full. Tesla lowers prices, which does what for demand? Oh my God! Now everybody can afford it. More people can buy. The skeptic in me says Tesla lowers prices, these stocks are valued on price time sales, and sales numbers might not, the sales numbers, it might not increase the sales numbers very quickly, and you get this pricing pressure, which means it changes margins, which means ultimately earnings. Right now, the price to sales, earnings ultimately gets pushed out a little bit further out. So the skeptic in me is Tesla lowering prices for the big guys, the four of them, is probably not a good thing over time, right? But for right now, the thought is lower prices, more demand, more cars sold. These stocks are going to go. That's what's working right now. I don't want to argue what's working. The ocean is moving to the right. I'm going to, allow myself to move to the right and just keep looking, at these things in a way that, they could explode, because that's what the stocks are saying. But in the back of my mind, I'm waiting for those put buyers to come in. The charts are telling a different story on something like NIO and LI and XPEV. So I'm concerned there. But what are you seeing?
Right.
What did you?
Let me just, before that, real quickly, just to respond to this Tesla thing. I mean, isn't there like a part of Tesla, part of the charm being exclusivity and the higher price, higher entry ticket, right? Because I mean, you can buy a new Toyota for much less money, and you can buy probably a Toyota that costs way more than Tesla. And Tesla has that like
the whole thing is a little crazy. The whole thing is a little crazy.
I mean, how is that gonna? It's probably, maybe it's a new direction they're taking into, just, hey, we want to be more accessible to more people, and I don't know. It's just
it's a crazy sector. My opinion doesn't matter, to be honest. It's I believe they're overvalued. I believe that the car is a hunk of junk. It doesn't matter, it's the frame of a car. It's a hunk of junk. The winner is the software in the car. The thing that makes it go, that will be the winner over time. To me, that is Tesla, or that is Apple, or that is, maybe it's Baidu in China, that, maybe that's why the stock is so big. I mean, that was another one that it's just incredible. Again, they're focusing their PR on the autonomous driving. But at the end of the day, the software is going to be the winner. Okay. Not anybody, but if you have a factory and you're going to start building cars and you're going to design cars, that works. That's fine. The Ferrari was a well-built car, which, by the way, you should watch that movie, Ford versus Ferrari. It's an awesome movie, but it's a well-built car. And this is something where, you have to remember, we're not in the, 40, 50 years ago. We're in a situation where it's technology, and it's going to be what you put in that car. Whoever gets that sale, that's what makes the car. Otherwise, everybody else is just building a hunk of junk. And yeah, you can make it look nicer, and maybe that's what, but at the end of the day, Ferrari is a different case, because people are going to love to drive Ferraris for maybe another 50 years, and maybe it's the antique car of the century. But, at the end of the day, it's going to be the software that moves the thing. So all of these things to me there will be some winners. I think it's the winners are being shown. Tesla, if Apple comes with the software, maybe Google comes in, and that brings Google into a topic. That's another topic. Like, Google is behind the race in so many different ways, in all categories, that I believe that they will make a move pretty soon, a bold move. I believe Google will make a 2004, whenever it was, YouTube type of move, where they're going to buy something that you're going to think, wow, what are they doing there? And I don't know what that is. I don't know what that move is. But to me, Google is, how can Google be just advertising still after so many years? YouTube advertising, whatnot. It's got so many different things, so many apps. They're to some extent getting out of some driverless stuff that they were doing, but they sold something recently. But there's a lot of things going on there. So let's get to some UOA. Let's
get to some UOA. All right. So you mentioned NIO, so let's actually get into NIO.
Okay.
All right. Let me show you my thing. You can see it just a sec.
Yeah.
Okay. There it is. All right, cool. So IV up and what have you there. We should have. Okay, I don't see NIO up here.
Looks like NIO might have dropped off because
dropped off, right?
Let's see here. So remember, this thing is time weighted, so it could have popped up in the beginning, but by the time you look at it now, it might not.
Refresh it real quick. Yeah.
No worries.
Just to see, but yeah, then if it's not there, we're just gonna look at the chain, and then I'll see what I
go for it.
Okay. All right, let's look at the chain.
I did see it earlier too. It was up there.
Yeah, me too. So sometimes it surprises us, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
so
it's time weighted. But
right.
go ahead.
So based off of what we talked about and kind of what I know, I know that there's an event. Okay, I know the event was on the 9th, so I'm looking at the 15th. It is a short-term play, like what, 2 weeks, even less. But then again, a lot can happen in those 2 weeks.
Yes.
So these are the two specific ones that I've seen. So the 55 and 60s. And if we want to take a look at the target
So
stock
why
price
don't you try to
first,
tell me what you think, just looking at these things, how I want to make sure that the process is right today.
Okay, so first thing I look at is the target. So I start
Let's
playing
look at the
around.
January 15th. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, January 15th. Yes.
Okay, January 15th. Okay.
Yep. And I'm looking at this 55.60. So
Yeah.
on the left side, risk reward is telling me somewhere between 64 and 69.70. So I put in 65, and it doesn't seem to be enough, right? So I
Yeah.
keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'm going to
You
tell
gotta
you,
be all the way up to about 76, 77.
right, almost up
Yeah.
to 80. And then
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, so that's a 50% move.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? And then what I do is I click on the volume and take a look at what's happening here. So one thing I wanted to ask you also is, so this change here in volatility, 1.6. So that means that for this specific strike price, the change was 1.6 up, right?
It was that means on Thursday it was 120. What is that? 126? 124.4. And today it's 126, so it's plus 1.6.
Right. So that's an indicator for likely more
Buyers.
buying, right? For buyers.
Generally, the board is up a little bit. Generally.
Okay. And then the next question is, so for example, if we see an opportunity and a trade that looks good, but then we click on the volume and for that specific strike, it's down, should that deter us from actually looking at it further? Could it mean that it's more sellers and that we shouldn't be looking at it?
So I would look at how they opened it. So they opened it high, right? Look how they opened it high. The volume dropped from, I'm going to pull it up on mine just so I can see it too. So I'm not going to, I'm looking, but let's just, and everyone should follow along to look at it. But the January 15th, so the 55, so the vol on this one opened up at 140. Okay. So let's think about that for a second. Remember, we talked about in the Robinhood video, we talked about if they see, if I see you coming into my store and, I know that you buy ham and eggs every morning, then I can just take the window or take the pricing right behind me and just flip the board. Instead of it's at $1. And now when you're coming in, I make it $3. Right. And you walk in and you say, I'll take the ham and eggs. I say it's $3 and you pay the $3. You walk out the door. Right. And so today with NIO news positive, they opened this up at, look where the vol was, where they opened up 140, 142. Okay. So that's a lot higher than 124.6. So they opened it up pretty high. This was probably some early demand to buy calls, right? Because the stock, look how the stock traded, right? So they're buying calls, but then at some point it looks like they brought it down very quickly. Like the vol, they brought it from 142 down to 126. So this move up in the stock early in the morning drew some sellers. And so the sellers started coming in and basically drove the volatility all the way down to 118. Okay. So that is sort of saying to me that there was basically a lot of this from 9:45 to 11:10 were sellers. Okay. Were sellers. And just in general. Now, I also see that the open interest is almost 50,000. And so 32,000 and seeing a lot of sellers here taking some profits makes sense to me.
Okay.
Right. I'm always just trying to figure out, does it make sense? So that's what I would say. I would read it that way, that it might have just been some profit taking from the call buying you saw last week. See how that worked? Like the call buying you saw last week, they were likely looking for this type of news, positive news. They were likely going for that. They got that. Some early birds walked in real quick to try to buy. They probably bought some. And then all of a sudden, as the stock went up from 51 to 53.5, the guys who actually bought it last week decided now they're going to start peeling off. And that's where you see from 9:45. Are you looking at mine or are you looking at yours?
I'm looking at both. Yeah.
You're looking at both. Okay.
Yeah, I can see both. Yeah.
Okay. So you can see you have yours there.
Yeah.
So you could see from 9:45 to 11:10 that the IV was going down while volume was trading, which is telling me that those were sales. People were taking profits from last week. Now, does that mean it's not going up? No, that doesn't mean that. It just simply means that people are giving up some of what they bought last week. That's it. It's very hard to sort of figure out. Remember, it's a puzzle, and we want to know for sure. So it's very hard to figure out whether or not this is a million day traders just trading NIO, which is probably, 80% right, and then there's a few guys that are doing this, but I would say that it's difficult. I would look, however, at the February's, which are there's 47,000 options there. And I would say, okay, I have these things trading, but again, it's open interest of 22, it's very difficult to determine whether or not these are buys or sells. And again, I want to be 100% sure. It looks like they're buys, but I want to make sure that they're buys to open, not to close. Buys to open, not to close.
Right.
Okay, it's much different. If you're buying something just to close out the position, something that you sold, it's much different than I'm buying to open. So because I can't make a great decision here on whether that's buying to open, I'm stuck a little bit here on saying, do I think it can go a lot higher? I am left with the stock, however. Looking at this stock, looks pretty good.
Right.
I was trying to tell you, like these stocks, the MACDs come well off, and this has formed a little bit of this flag. Okay, so just to maybe visualize it a little bit more, you have this move up, you have sort of this, however you want to draw it, like this, and then you had this forming, and then over the last 2 days, it kind of broke through, and probably why you saw some call buying right here, because people are looking at this. And if it breaks this flag, it should catch a lot more momentum. And then you get something where, this piece, sorry, I'm drawing too many, I'm doing what I'm telling you not to do, but this, can start moving towards to like $60 here, if you will. Okay, right. $60. Or it breaks from 26, you're looking at this, but you can also argue that it goes from 26 to 57. That's about 31, from wherever this point was going to meet is about 44. So maybe it's about 75. So you can even make the case for 75. Now, what were we talking about on, what did you say? You threw in there $80, right? For January 15. And let's get back to the January 15th. Let's see. Get back to 80 gets you 54. Where does 75 get you? So they are looking for something in that realm. 75 gets around 54. So you could see that it sort of matches up, like the market, what the market is, how the market is pricing these things is popping up here. Okay, it's popping up here. It's giving us this. If I can get there by saying, from this move all the way up, and I don't have room here, but it would be from here to here, because I'm just bringing it from about 44, 44 to here. You could see where this would be. This would be up at, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, probably around 75, going to 75. So that, it's basically saying that I believe it is possible this stock could go to 75, 80. The question is it going to go? And are people betting that way? I'm not sure that they are. I think there was probably some overwrites. I would want to think that there was some overwrites, but I don't know. I'd be guessing, and I try to avoid the guessing.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So let's go to another one. Let's go to another one. And by the way, you're guessing on all of these, right? But you're trying to reduce them. It's got to be like the minimum amount of guesses that you want to have.
Right.
Okay. Right. What else? Okay. Let's take a look as review. How about review?
Review.
GME. Did you see some of these stuff today?
Yes.
How about this QuantumScape? I see it right here. It's staring at me.
I mean, you predicted the other side of the month, and then look at it.
It's one of those things where you don't see in that type of name, you don't see that type of structure trade at the all-time highs, which basically gave us the clue. It gave us that the QuantumScape, was trading 115, and someone does that big of a trade. It gives us a clue that maybe that story is over for a little bit. And if it goes down, it's likely not going to go down, $15. It's going to have a bigger move. Same thing with FUBO. there's a bunch of these names that are starting to go down the other side of the mountain, which is where you got to be a little bit careful if you're that person that is buying these things because you're waiting for that next move back up. I would be very, very careful. Very
And
careful.
there's also GME. It didn't pop up on the UOA, but it was
the GME. Yeah, I mean, look at that.
Yeah, I think people kind of got back to reality with it, and
yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is a big move right here on these 2 days. So you see these 2 days, this is what I would look at right here. If you're long this stock, I'm looking at, December 22nd to December 23rd. And there was a lot of volume right here and right here. Okay, a lot of volume. Now, could that have been shorts getting squeezed out here? Could that have been, the last dance? But you have this thing, this stock, it's not, call it a thing, it's like an animal, this thing. It's there's a lot going on here. It's not, it does. Yes, it moves from 12 to 22 back down to 17 and a half. Can it go to 35? I mean, I'm not going to say it can, but what we did see was we saw that put buyer walk in. He was buying puts down here. Let's be honest. He was buying puts here. He came up and bought more here, and it's Melvin Capital, and the guy is good. Now, I want to tell you, this is important for GME holders, that just because he bought the January 25 puts and you don't see him come in and maybe close them, he has let's look at, let's just look at GME, right? Let's look at GME here. GME. The GME. Okay, January. He has the January 25 puts. I'm not going to be able to see them here, maybe. Or he's the 24. Here they are. So he still has them. So this is important to understand for the shorts, right? Because the shorts are saying, oh, he has to come in and sell these out. So that means he's going to have to, that's going to put 50,000 options. That's $5 million of pressure upwards. It does not mean, that just because he owns 50,000 puts, that doesn't mean he has to sell them. What could he do? He could actually be buying stock here. Okay. If he buys stock here, and you would never know what he's doing with those puts. If he buys stock here, say he's buying 1 million shares of the next, 5 million shares of the next today's the 4th. It's only 10 days. So it's, say 500,000 shares every day for the next 10 days. Let's just say he's going to buy 5 million shares, and he's going to cover this 50,000 put position. Okay. That's what he's trying to do. We won't know where he gets out. So if he covers at 17 and a half, then that position gets closed out essentially at $7.50. Okay. It's a little bit left in the calls up here, but let's just call it $7.50. So he paid whatever he paid, $3-4, and now they're worth, I don't remember what he paid, to be honest, but now they're worth they're worth 7.5. So he can actually get out of his position by now buying stock, and we would never know that. And so when he does another roll, or he doesn't roll this and he just lets it collapse, we would say, oh, he's out of the position. No, he did cover it. And now he's getting ready to, have the stock go up again and come in and do another 25, 30,000 puts, or whatever his size is going to be. But it's important to understand that if you're waiting for him to actually sell those 24 puts, he doesn't necessarily have to come back into the market for him to cover. He can actually just cover stock, and he's got the right to sell the stock at 55 million times. And then he's going to buy wherever he buys the stock, average down, he's going to lock in that gain. But remember, where did we think he was going? He thought the stock was going to 13, 14. Maybe when it got to 22, 23, he raised that to about maybe 14, 15. But, he was thinking 13, 14 the first time we saw him come in. He was at, I believe, the 17s, the 19th, and the 20s. It was always in that range of 13, 14. Then the stock jumped to 23, and he jumped from those puts all the way up to the 24s. So maybe his target moved down to, the 15, moved up to the 15, 16 range, which means we're almost there, but it just keep that in mind. It's important that many people think he has to come out. He might be already coming out by buying stock.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We don't know that. And I'm not saying that he is, or I know anything about what he's doing, but it's important to just understand that.
All right. Great.
Quantum scale. We talked about FUBO. FUBO is another one. I mean, the thing goes down every day, $4. It's a joke, right? And this is the problem with buying the dips. Buying the dips on something like FUBO. Great story. I get it. We all get it. But it's a story. And at the end of the day, when the money moves from one story to the next, there's no buyers here. You're the only buyer that's sort of sticking around on FUBO. And it's a shame that, I would bet that 90% of these charts of these names will all end in the exact same way. They're all going to look, they're all going to look something like this over time. It's going to have a big move up and then a very large move down. All of them. The problem is figuring out whether this is the move and then it goes down, or this is the move.
Right.
That of course that is the issue. And I'm not saying I'm smart enough to know that. I'm just saying in hindsight, you have to remember this, that mountain, analogy. Just remember that mountain. When you're on this side of the mountain and you are clearly now on this side of the mountain, there might be another mountain that takes this stock to 400 for all I know. But for right now, this is the mountain we're looking at. You have to be very careful. Could it make another move to 35, 37 and snap back here and get everybody long again, or saying, you know what, it's going to go back and it was, people got out? Of course. But you got to be very, very careful on this side of the mountain. This now is the professional shorts all over this name, trying to drive this stock to probably where it belongs, or on a valuation basis, $10, call it. Maybe that's even too high. I don't even know what the valuation should be in this, but I'm just saying that they're going to take it down to wherever they think it's actually should be valued as an asset.
Okay.
Okay. So just keep that in mind. All of these stocks, I don't care what stock it is, they will all end something like this. And even something like Tesla can look like that as well. But Tesla actually decided to go, there was another mountain in Tesla. And just to show you how these things work. So, it's not like, I don't want to be talking as if I know exactly when that mountain is, because I don't. But we look at Tesla, let's just look at Tesla over 10 years. This is obviously the last, not the last, I don't know if it's the last one. It's obviously the last mountain we see, but there were these are so small now, they don't even make a dent, but there was small mountains here. Never one where it had the spike. This is the one that had the spike, and everybody thought this was the final, this was it. And it came down. But there was points here where it was very dangerous. This moved from 77 to 26, 20, 25, 20. Tesla lost 40% here before it just took off.
Right.
Okay, so that was, to take that move here. Let's look at it a different way. We're going to look at it. You could use log scale to kind of, when you use price charts, you lose sort of some of the story. This tells you a little bit more of the story, where there was this big move up, it stayed sideways, and then in Tesla this came down. So this was a significant move from 75 here. Log scale, we'll describe it another time, but essentially it tries to equal out, meaning 50 to 100 is 100%. Right? You see that 50 to 100, that's 100%. It should be the same distance between 100 and 200. So you see the distance up, 100 to 200.
Right.
That distance is the same as 50 to 100. Price is this is 100 points. This is 50 points. But on a percentage move, it equals everything out.
I see.
Make sense? Okay,
Yeah,
so that's not, yeah. Okay, so a couple of quick little tidbits, but let's keep going here.
Cool, great. Another one I've seen is Micron, MU.
Earnings this week, right?
Yes, earnings this week, and it looks a little bit like a faster pace play.
Okay.
You've got it down there if you want to. There it is.
Okay.
There it is, right.
Micron.
Micron.
People are buying calls, have been buying calls in this. Again, frankly, I'm a little nervous on the action today. I don't like to see something reach high in the morning and then end up near the lows today. End up near the lows is not a good sign. You probably could see another move lower. I don't like it in front of earnings as well. But I don't know. I don't like these earnings plays where we're just playing it for like one shot with 3 days to go. It's not what I think is. Frankly, I think it's you might as well go flip a coin or find somebody to flip a coin for $1,000 and flip. It's not really what I consider. You don't know if it's positioning or not. This February, I want to see what this is, maybe, because that's a little bit more, trying to position. something here. So it looks like 3,000, 3,000, but this open interest of 3,000. It looks like somebody's maybe moving this around. Maybe they actually sold the 75s. Yeah, looks like here. These were at the low end of the vol, probably spreads. No, they weren't spreads. On the bid though, so maybe they sold these. And then let's just take a look at what they did here in the 80s. Looks like they bought those at 1230 on the offer here. And but 1230 can't tell. IV 48.9, 48.9. IV was up a little bit, so maybe looks like maybe a sell, and then later on he came in to buy a little bit or roll up, or maybe just two different parties. But it didn't come up as a spread, although it looks like a spread to me. But it came up at different times. But coming in, look, I would advise you, Marco, not to. This is a lot of noise here, and just because you got this earnings thing, and it's a couple of days before, or the day before, I would advise you not to go too much toward these. So when you're playing these, they're hit or miss, and frankly, it's hard to hit them all the time. It's hard enough to hit them. What we do at give yourself some time. It's hard enough to hit that. This game right here, I would say it's really difficult. I would say really difficult.
Okay.
I'd rather have here. Here's, you see my chart right here?
Yep.
Okay. Wasn't too long ago. It was right around here. Okay. That they were buying calls. Okay. There was call buying here, and they were buying calls for 3-4 weeks, which is all the way out to here. So, they were buying these 75s. They're buying the 72. You see this? See the open interest? That was being bought back here. Was I smart enough to buy it? No, but I did see them. That's what they were buying. They were setting up for this move. I don't know what they're doing now. Now they could just be kind of getting out of these calls and then figuring, take their profits. They're still long stock. By the way, you want to see, we haven't done this enough, but it's part of the story. Holdings channel is what I use. I'm sure there's 50 of these, and if somebody knows something better to use, and they could tell me. But I simply like holdings channel for one reason. I haven't seen it in many others. They give me the options. They give me the options. So look who's long calls.
Wow, BlackRock.
Yeah, stock and calls. Okay, like 81 million shares wasn't enough. They needed to go buy a million shares in calls. Right? It's like $3 billion on a much. Let's just go buy $48 million more in calls. So call buying. I would also say, if we see any other people, let's just kind of look really quick, because in the previous idea, I showed a couple of names that we always look at, but we're looking for, Baupost is smart, very smart guy, a little bit more longer term, smart though, very smart. We're looking for Viking, is more of a hedge fund, New York hedge fund, smart. AQR is a little bit more quant, so not so much. I'm not going to really focus on that, but those are the big ones I see. I thought they would be, Fred Alger's more long term, but they're value actually. Victory Capital. Okay, I don't see as who used to own this is 0.72 is Steve Cohen, but he might have sold out of this. But I think he's in there, in here somewhere. I can't find him right now looking through it. But yeah, so I think that this is, it's always good to see who owns this. BlackRock owning calls, says something. I saw the call buying about 3-4 weeks ago. I saw that Steve Cohen was in the name, and that was that. Unfortunately, I did not go in there to buy it. But let me just see one thing. I know that these guys. Just want to see one thing here. The reason I picked FISV is because our good friends at Melvin Capital, who are short the GME, are long this one. And I just want to see, he's tied with, he used to be Steve Cohen's right-hand guy. So a lot of the names that you will see here will coincidentally pop up also on Steve Cohen's book. But I do not see Micron here. But these are some of the places where you start seeing, some of the names that especially up here. You see who the call buyers are. You know, Alibaba call buying, obviously not working. I'm assuming that he's probably bailed out of some of that. This stock I really like. The problem is that the number one holder of this stock is basically KKR, and they have like 130 million shares. They sold like 40 million already so far, but they still have 90 million to go. So it's a little bit of cap on this. But the minute they come out and they want to sell the balance, and over the next couple of quarters, you could see a stock that people really, really like this name, but it's got that big overhang of sellers. So again, combination of what you're seeing, Marco, the target stock price, seeing the chart, making sense of the chart, going back to the story, and part of the story is trying to figure out who the heck owns these things. Okay, so let's look at some more. Keep going here.
Also, one more that I saw was Riot, and it was actually down today, although Bitcoin is significantly up.
Yeah, that's a sign too. I saw that as well, right? That's a little bit of a sign. Those are things, right? Those are clues to tell you maybe the stock is a little tired, right? I'm always looking, is the stock tired?
You mean it had a big jump, it's been going up?
Yeah, it's already up a lot. You would think, what would you think? Bitcoin trades 34,000 over the weekend. Oh my God, Riot's going to trade up $5.
Right.
The fact that it's not trading up $5 is a clue by itself. Okay, without even knowing what Riot does, and I'm not trying to poo-poo Riot, or we saw options where they're paying big money because they think the potential for the stock to trade 20, 25, 28 plus. So what the hell do I know? I mean, this is a momentum stock. They called the Bitcoin rally. Riot has been trading. It's already a double, I think, in the last couple of weeks. So I have no problem against Riot. It's just there's something wrong with Bitcoin being up over the weekend the way it is. It's pulled back a little bit, but you would think Riot, Bitcoin up, Riot's got to be up. But if there was any stocks that I thought would be up on Monday morning, it would be Riot. That would hold for the day. That's what I would think. So
and same thing with Mara as well.
Mara is the same type of name, same type of what you're looking at. So is that Bitcoin? Is that same thing about Bitcoin? I don't know. I would say that what we'll do is I'll close it down with a couple of things that I'm seeing and that I would want us to pay attention to. There was some General Motors call buying, again, in that realm of EV. I don't think General Motors gets the love it should as far as its EV. It's one of the largest EV producers. If you're going on how many boxes you will build and sell, General Motors right at the top. People were buying the Gen 44 calls. The stock is weak today. They were buying that on I saw from last week. And again, Mark, I do this every day, but I would keep track and keep notes on what you're seeing, because you'll start being able to put the pieces historically with what you're seeing today. But I think that the GM was interesting. They're buying earnings in front of Micron and in front of WBA, which is tomorrow morning. I don't know anything about the WBA. I don't see it, see it up a little bit already today, but they're buying calls there. Names that I think were interesting that are down, and I'd like to see how it plays out, is this Visa and MasterCard that are down today. That's something that's interesting. Great charts. Looking at that charts, like, it's going to need something to get through. Maybe it's the earnings play. Bristol Myers and ABBV as far as pharmaceuticals. Also, one stock that, I think it's probably, let's see. I'll show you how, stories develop, or how stories are, not that they develop, or how they start catching fire. Good stories have to make sense, and good stories have to point to something else, right? What do I mean by that? So here, FUTU Holdings. You know what FUTU is?
Not familiar, no.
Okay, FUTU is the Robin Hood of China. How sexier it doesn't get much sexier than that, right? It's the Robin Hood. It's the Robin Hood of China. Who doesn't know Robin Hood, right? It's the Robin Hood of China. Of course, it's got to be worth a lot of money, right? I mean, who's going to look at the fundamentals? It's got to be worth a lot. So look at the stock. It's gone from 10 to 50. So part of a good story, part of how, how the storytellers, you need, good stories need a visual, and they need some sort of, sorry, what's going on here? Hold on one second.
I just click once.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I want to click Let me do it this way. And let me do it. So good stories, there's people that drum up. What's a good story? Good stories are it needs something to tag as the leader. It's not the leader. This is the one that's going to be the leader. So Tesla is the leader, and NIO, XPV, and LI, they're going to be the leaders. They're China, right? They're going. So you look at Tesla and you say, these have to be worth this, okay? And as Tesla climbs, and they keep pointing to these other ones, these have to climb. So the lead horse is dragging along the story stocks. The story stocks may eventually be worth more, less, nobody knows, but the story starts gaining some steam. How many people in China? How many cars can they possibly sell? Look how the valuations 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where, it's a story. It's a story. Okay, FUTU is turning out to be a great story. But in a great story, what you need is some sort of climax or some moment where, it's the frenzy, right? It's the wow. So when is Robinhood going to do an IPO? This is the Robinhood of China. Robinhood's been trying to go for an IPO for the last, maybe call it the last couple of months, is what I've been reading. They're saying Q1. So right in the midst of hysteria of Robinhood is going to be valued at potentially $20-25 billion on the IPO, right? Everybody's going to be talking about Robinhood IPO maybe 2 weeks before Robinhood IPO. It's going to start picking up steam. As the Robinhood story starts picking up steam about this IPO, because there will be a set date and everybody will be saying, are you getting shares? Are you getting shares? Who's getting shares? Robinhood's going to be 40 billion, 50 billion. It's going to go here from there. As that story increases, who do you think is going to follow? The FUTU Holdings Limited, which is the Robinhood of China, right? And if you look, and here's where the story even gets sexier, Robinhood is going to be worth 20, 25, 30 billion. This stock is only worth 6 billion. And did I tell you it's the Robinhood of China? Do you know how many people there are in China? It's the same story. It's like there's 1.5 billion, there's 800 million already doing payments, or 900 million doing payments online already. That's your market. 900 million times, X, whatever. There's only, Robinhood only has, I don't know how many users there are, but I'm just going to throw out a number. They have 20 million users. And in China, did I tell you that there was 900 million that do payments, and they all want to trade stocks? They're all doing it all. And the story just builds. That's how the creativity of the story, and the more it makes sense, the more it draws millions of people. This thing, okay, doesn't look like what side of the mountain does this look like? It looks like the left side of the mountain still. This doesn't look to me like the right side of the mountain. And so I look at something like this, and when I start seeing them they have been positioning for February options, March options. This is one I would keep in the back of your mind. Hopefully you can get a little bit of a pullback. I was hoping to get a little bit of pullback down to 40. But this is one that becomes interesting, not because of the valuation, but interesting because you see the volume coming in. Interesting because the chart is telling you that this may not be, it doesn't look to me like it's the right side of the mountain. And 3, I have this potential date where this story can hit a climax. Okay. And I want the frenzy, right? You want the frenzy to hit where nobody's buying this because nobody, people are buying it. Obviously, stock's up, but the masses aren't buying it because it's not front page just yet. Until I spotted this on UOA the last week and a half, I didn't know what FUTU is. But then you start reading about it, and the story gains its own steam. Behind the story of Robinhood, when there's this climax, where is FUTU trading the day of the Robinhood IPO? If we have a good market, I could see this trading a lot higher. Okay. And I think right now, everything is trading. If you look at a lot of these names, they're trading 150 vol, 200 vol. So 90 vol doesn't seem so crazy just yet because this stock hasn't traded from 40 to 100 in 2 weeks. It's just gone from It's just gone from 30 to 40, then it goes from 40 to 50, 50 back to 45. And that's, 200 vol, you got to pay $7, $8 for calls, right? Look at the March calls. The March 55 calls are 5 3/4. That doesn't sound so expensive when you look to see what all these other names have done and how they've done it. And this is only a $6 billion stock. And geez, what could it be when the story Robinhood is at a climax? I'm not touching this just yet, but I can tell you that I like what I see as far as the pieces. I don't want to reach. These things are so volatile. I don't want to reach. So I'm trying to give you things to think about, give you things to look at, try to come up with your own story, your own things. But when you start connecting these dots, just make sure it doesn't have to. Options is not about fundamentally sound companies right now. Options are about where something has the possibility of going. Why would it get there? Are people playing it? Who owns it? And then is there a possible climax for, is there an event like something? Maybe that's the story. That's what I would point to as, when the frenzy in Robinhood is going on, what is FUTU going to be doing? Right?
Nice.
Everybody's going to say, I can't get any shares. Oh my God, did you hear about this? It's the Robinhood of, you know how it goes. And that's the frenzy. And everybody goes, FUTU trades up for a week and then does like this left side of the mountain move higher. And maybe that's the initial stop and it comes off and then it could be the end, or it could be, one mountain in a series of mountains over time. I don't know. But I suspect that we are getting, each day you're starting to get more of these stocks that have just they're now on the right side of the mountain. And now the shorts are starting to, now you're fighting the professional shorts that are saying, yeah, you know what? You think it's going to new highs? I'm gonna press against you because everybody's long here, and you got everybody who's trying to sell against you too. So I'm gonna press you, and that's what the market is doing on some of these names.
Cool.
All right, my man.
Perfect. I was all ears. I bet everybody was. That was a great session.
Let's get them back tomorrow. But you have some names. We have the LI, the NIOs, the XPEVs. They're all in play. You have some. You have Micron, WBA earnings. You have some GM calls. You have Bristol Myers call buying last week. That was significant. Visa, MasterCard call buying sporadically over the course of the last 2 weeks. Charts down today. Stocks down. Charts a little bit broken because it's trying to go to the highs. So that's something interesting. We have the AMD that remember, people were trading AMD like it was going to go to 130. Things have calmed down there. It's sort of like now's the time you want to go back and start looking at the things that everybody was at a frenzy, and now you want to go back and you want to you want to see if there's opportunity now because the volatility has come back off. Maybe people have said, there's no story, and then they sold, and the big guys might still be positioned there. So a lot to look at.
Cool. Great. Perfect.
Right,
thank you, Phil. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Drop us a like, a subscribe, share. We want to get as many people as we can, and we want to thank you for being with us. So until tomorrow.
Thank you. Be good.
Bye.